Hi, everyone, and welcome to our GP Office Hours webinar titled Don't Let the Sun Go Down on GP. We are grateful you have joined us today and look forward to your questions as we learn more about what the sunset of Dynamics GP means for your organization. So get your questions ready as we welcome Lise Cummings as our presenter today. Lise has a degree in accounting and over 20 years of experience as a Microsoft Dynamics GP consultant. She brings a wealth of knowledge and passion for helping businesses optimize their financial systems, and for the past 7 years, she has served as a strategic account manager, partnering closely with clients to align and deliver business solutions that exceed their evolving needs and drive long-term success. Lise was also involved in the early stages of transformative platforms like Sage Intacct and Dynamics 365 Business Central, providing expert consulting and implementation guidance. Her deep industry insight makes her a trusted advisor across various sectors. Outside of work, Lise enjoys spending time in her garden, playing with her 2 spirited golden doodles, and unwinding on a sunny beach whenever possible. But most importantly, she enjoys spending time and traveling with her husband and 2 adult sons to create lasting memories. Please join me as we welcome Lise as our presenter.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate that. So Dawn, if you'll go to the first slide.
I didn't realize that you wanted me to drive, so give me a moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm so sorry. I guess I should have driven, huh?
Well, we can get this going here. How's that?
Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining us today to talk about the announcement that Microsoft made. And well, they originally made it in September of last year, and they came back in January and extended the date that they had stamped from September of 2029. They extended that to December 31st of 2029. So what we have on the screen here is the roadmap. And you will see that the end of life is 2029, December 31st. So that is going to allow anybody that is on GP to be able to obtain your year-end tax updates, any of those form changes for 1099s, and also any payroll year-end updates that you would need in order to process your W-2s for 2029. And that was the purpose of extending that date from September to December. Now, there is an extended period of support that you'll see of 2031. That is April 30th of 2031. That extended support really simply is just going to cover any service packs that need to be provided in respect to any type of security vulnerabilities that GP may have. And I will tell you that in all my almost 30 years of experience with GP, that I've not ever seen them supply a service pack for security issues. So hopefully we won't see that between 2029 and 2031 either. So if you'll go to yes. So in respect also to the end of life for GP, you will see on this particular screen that obviously it's still the same timeline, but you'll also see that this month, April 1st, Microsoft said there is no more new GP customers. So that would be a completely new system that someone came and said, we want to buy GP with perpetual licenses. That is no longer available. A year from this month, no one will be able to obtain subscription licenses for GP. So that would be no new customers not existing. So no new customers will be able to obtain subscriptions licensing. So between now and April 1st of next year, we do have the ability to add new GP customers, but they would all be subscription-based licenses. If you'll go to the next slide. So, what is the intent of LBMC for supporting our GP customers? And this slide, you're going to see that I've put the version of GP. So, if you're any version of GP 2013 through 2018, um, then you need to upgrade as soon as possible. Because we have committed to extending our GP support beyond 2029 through 12/31 of 2034. If you're in that bucket of 18.1 to 18.5, that as well, those versions are no longer supported as well, and we highly recommend you upgrade as soon as possible. Now, we have many that have already gone to 18.6 and 18.7. This October, we'll see the release of 18.8 come out. Those versions currently are supported versions of GP, and so you should be good where you are right now. But what we are encouraging you to do, if you are on one of these unsupported versions or even on a supported version, but especially the unsupported ones, we are really, really telling our customers that you need to get upgraded as soon as possible if you continue to stay on GP in order for us to better support you. If you're on an older version, obviously Microsoft is no longer supporting those older versions. It makes it really hard for us to be able to support you to the best of our ability if you are on an unsupported version as well. We just can, hit some crossroads that we may not be able to support you on those versions if it was especially like a data corruption issue or something that was pretty substantial to your system. Are there any questions at this point? We'll go ahead and open it up before we do our first poll question. But if anybody has any questions in regards to that roadmap and timeline and LBMC's continued support of GP.
I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to the first poll question.
Very good.
All
So
right.
Go
ahead.
Hopefully people can see I'm seeing answers coming in now. And so
Yes.
the question is, have you started internal discussions about having an eventual move from GP to the cloud? And the choices are no, we have not. We've talked about it, but have no solid plan in place. We're in the beginning stages, but are making plans and have assembled a team. Then the final choice, yes, we've made plans and have discussed budgeting and preferred go live date.
Very good.
Yeah. So let me give this a few more moments.
Sure. I always like to see the responses from our poll questions that we have.
Exactly. All right, I'm ending the poll and I'm going to go ahead and share the results.
Okay, well, it looks like there's a very high percentage they've had the discussion, but no solid plan in place. And the second is no, we have not. So that's something that you really need to consider if you have not already started talking about internally. The transition from GP to the cloud and having those discussions, talking about the transitions, talking about what systems you want to evaluate, and also your budget and timeline in respect to that transition. And those are all things that really, really need to be considered. So here at LBMC, I would like to mention that we offer Dynamics, it's D365 Business Central. So that's a Microsoft product. and we sell and implement that. And we also have a full consulting team for Sage Intacct that we also offer as well. So we do have 2 ERP options that you could evaluate um, with us as you go through that process of evaluating systems and looking to transition to the cloud. So we're calling it a cloud journey because you are going to go to the cloud. I would like to dispel any, I guess, misinformation that you may have or perceptions that you may have gathered from marketing emails that you may have gotten from Microsoft. I know I've seen some that have come out that have said, take your GP to the cloud. So, and I've had the question asked many times, well, we want to talk about the GP cloud version. Well, unfortunately, there is not a GP cloud version. When you receive a marketing message from Microsoft and it says, take your GP to the cloud, they are talking in respect to migration to D365 Business Central. So, it is a new implementation. It's more than just, migrating your data up to the cloud. It would be, an implementation, and your end users would need to learn to use that system, as well as if they decided to go to Sage Intacct. A new implementation would also be involved there as well. Any questions around that?
I'm not seeing anything. Folks
We
are
have a
being
very
shy.
quiet audience today. We really want this to be interactive. Don't be shy. Please, speak up and put your questions in the chat there. And if we see them come through, then Dawn will let me know that we have them. So if we don't have any questions, I'm going to continue to talk. So a couple of things that I did want to talk about, because I've had these questions asked as well. If you're planning on staying on GP, there are some things that you really, really, really should consider in respect to that. First of all, we have talked about, if you're on an unsupported version of GP, you should get upgraded on a newer release as quickly as possible. And then as those releases come out, and those releases come out every October, then you should stay current. So it makes it a lot easier. It's less less expensive to do a yearly jump versus several years jump, because that takes several iterations to get you up onto the current version of GP. So the more frequent you can stay updated on the system, then the better off you will be. Another thing in respect to doing those upgrades, in something to consider, is what is the life expectancy of your current server? Because along with doing those upgrades, you are going to have to consider replacing your existing server, which can be a very costly expense in of itself. And anywhere from 20 to 25,000 up, we've seen. I just heard the other day someone said, "Oh, we just spent $30,000 on a new server." So, in conjunction to the services to get you upgraded, if you have a server that is becoming outdated and needs to be replaced, then that's going to be another added expense in order to support the GP infrastructure.
So we have some questions.
Okay, great, great.
Our IT team is all Microsoft. We use Azure D365 CRM and Office. Can we
Okay.
go with Sage Intacct and keep those, or do we have to go with Business Central?
So that's a great question. Both Business Central and Sage Intacct can be used for those platforms from Microsoft. Sage works, they've got a research and development team that works with Microsoft because they recognize that many people use Excel, they use Word, they use Exchange for their email. their Outlook, CRM. If you've got Microsoft CRM, by all means, we have a whole CRM team here at LBMC, and it's not uncommon that we interface Sage Intacct to the CRM platform as well. The other piece of information that I like to point out, because I see more and more of our customers starting to use the Microsoft Power Platform apps, or let me say Power Platform products, which include Power BI, Power Automate, which is your workflows, and then you have the Power Apps. So those can be used with Sage Intacct as well. So it's a great question. Very good question.
All right. Here's another one.
Mhm.
Are there licensing differences between GP and BC, Business Central?
So there are. You currently are typical. Most everybody. I think we have some people that have subscription licenses, but most everybody currently on GP has what is called an on-prem license, perpetual license. And those are concurrent. So a little different. Concurrent means, you may own 5 GP end user licenses, and you may have 20 people set up as users in the system, but you can only have 5 people logged in at the same time. With D365 Business Central, those licenses are subscription based and they are named users. So, because they use multi factor authentication, those will be named users. And so, you would have to purchase a user license for each end user that would be using D365 Business Central.
Okay. Let's see here. How different is the user experience between GP and BC? I would guess that that's kind of twofold. One is just aesthetically, and the second would be functionality wise.
Yes. So there is going to be some differences. Your user interface is going to look quite a bit different than what you have been used to seeing in GP. There's going to be a lot more included functionality within Business Central than what you've had in GP. Just like in GP, we can turn functionality on and off through security if it's something that you're not going to use. So, don't let that scare you. Don't think, oh my gosh, we're going to have all this stuff that we don't even need. We can turn it off, but it's all inclusive. So, with Business Central, you would pay for your user licenses, and then you would get the whole system. So we can turn those things off though if you're not needing to use anything there.
Okay. And then Kelly asked the question, well, what about licensing for Sage Intacct? How different is that from GP?
Well, for Sage Intacct is a bit different than what it is still subscription. So it's a bit different than what Business Central is. Um, with Sage Intacct, you would purchase the core financials, so the core foundation, which would include general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, bank rec, sales order processing, purchase orders, some light inventory, and in conjunction with that core package, you would get one business entity and one business user. So for each of your additional business users, then you would purchase those in addition to the core financial package. If you need additional entities, then those would be additional as well.
All right. Is Business Central endorsed by the AICPA like Sage Intacct is?
Actually, Sage Intacct is the only cloud solution that I am aware of today that has been endorsed by the AICPA. And so, that's pretty big in and of itself. They're both audit compliant. So I can say that the security around both of those systems is very tight. Obviously those being, Sage products and Microsoft products, they take security very seriously, and they wouldn't put a product out there that um, would have some security vulnerabilities, especially for your accounting system, because these are going to be both web browser based. So if you've got a laptop and you've got an internet connection, then you can access the system from anywhere that you may be. So if you need to take your laptop on vacation with you because there's going to be an important, maybe an important check you need to cut or something, then you would have the ability to do so for both of those systems.
Okay. Um, I've heard conflicting reports. Is the move from GP to BC, Business Central, a simple migration, or is it more like the implementation of a new system?
So there is a migration path for Business Central from GP to Business Central. Um, and with Sage Intact, there's not a direct migration path, but basically what we do is we have templates, and we do have templates for both systems as well. Just depending on the complexity of your system, what route we would do. If you selected Business Central, we may use templates and we may use a migration. Again, it just depends on the complexity of and how much historical information you're wanting to bring over, but that they do differ, and there are templates that we can populate to bring your master records into those systems. And it is considered a new implementation because it is a new user interface. The process flows are different. They're still all going to flow to the general ledger like you're currently accustomed to, but there's just some differences that you're going to have to get used to with both of those systems. And we have a whole project team. We would take you through a whole implementation process step by step, from setup to your end user training, getting your data into the system, and a user acceptance testing. So make sure that your end users are ready for go live, and then we would have go live.
Yanka has a question. If you have
Okay.
multiple entities in GP today, is D365 Business Central a better option, especially if you need the sales module, internet module, financial module, and I'm guessing that this means they need to talk to each other seamlessly.
So I honestly could not tell you that one's better over the other. We would really just need to do a deep dive and some discovery to just see what is going to be a better fit. And I tell everybody it doesn't cost you a dime to window shop. So, we could, through a discovery process and needs requirements gathering, um, we could define which one we think is going to be better for you, um, versus just saying, oh well, right off the bat this one's going to be better for you, because we find that it's not always necessarily what we actually think may be the better fit for you. um, it really is going to come down to us to do discovery with you and your requirements gathering so that we can help you evaluate and make the best decision possible.
Right. And further clarification, it was a typo. It wasn't the internet, it was the inventory module with the finance
I
and the
got you.
sales. And so, but I think Lisa, your answer still applies.
Yes, that's correct. I kind of thought maybe it was inventory, especially when she was talking about sales order processing. So yeah.
Okay. Um, all right. It has been mentioned that LBMC Tech has done hundreds of migrations from legacy systems to BC and Sage Intact. What has the customer experience been like? Has there been happy adoption of the new solutions? I'm guessing
So
the
that
alternative is, have there been painful experiences of the new
yeah,
solutions?
I honestly I can't say that I've heard any painful experiences from our teams. And yes, we have implemented both systems over several hundred customers. Last week I was on a call with Glenn, our Sage Intact practice manager, and I believe he said we've done over 800 implementations. So quite successful there. I believe on our Business Central side, I think that Patrick has said we've done over 400. Um, so we've got a lot of customers that have gone through that experience. They're continuing to use it. I've even had some customers that just have reached back out to me after go live and have told me what a great experience it was working with our team members, and how, everything was just so organized, and they just had a great experience, and they just weren't expecting it to be that great of an experience. So I was like, well, that's good feedback to have. We like to hear that. And that I do have to say, I sit on some of those status calls that they have on a weekly basis during implementation. And I do have to say that our project managers do a very, very good job of keeping everybody on task and the projects, moving forward to go live date. So um, it's an impressive team that we have on both sides. So
Okay. I don't see any more questions. We have a couple of things that we're going to go through. So if you do have questions, please utilize the chat or utilize the Q&A. And I'll
yeah,
start sharing again, Lisa,
okay,
and we'll finish up our slides.
sure, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so we are at poll question number 2, Dawn. If we'll
All
go ahead and
right.
put that on the board, and then after this question, I have a couple more things I'd like to talk about just to make everybody aware of.
Very good. So hopefully, can you see this? It says, I would like to explore working with LBMC on, and this is, you can answer more than one here. If there are multiple things that you would like, um, certainly let us know and we'll follow up on that. You know, um, Lisa, you might want to mention, we had talked about planning in the previous poll
Mhm.
question. And how does
Yes.
a business process review assist in that planning process?
So, Dawn, that's an excellent question, because that was one thing I was going to talk about next. So, a couple of things to consider. Um, the business process review is a great tool to go through that process. It is our consultants that will work with your end users, and they'll interview them. They'll look at your current processes, and maybe during that whole process of interviewing individuals, some of the questions we're wanting to kind of dig into is, um, what do you feel like your system should be doing that it's not doing? And so it's not just an exercise of what your current environment looks like, because we want to replicate that in a new system. Not at all would we want to replicate it. We want to make sure that the new system is going to be as automated as possible in streamlining your processes, because you may have been, and I find this quite often with many of our GP customers, that they've been on GP for 15, 20, 25 years, and they've never done anything to change the system. They're currently just using it the way they implemented it. And, I get a lot of, there's got to be a better way to do this. I just know there's got to be a better way. Um, you may have experienced a great amount of turnover through the years, where it's kind of like the game of, you whisper a story into someone's ear and they whisper that same story, and by the time it gets around the whole circle of everybody, the whole story is a whole different story than what it originally started out as. um, so it's kind of like that with GP as well. You've been on the system for a while, you've had some turnover has happened, and from end user to end user, the translation of how to do transactions and perform tasks within the systems have changed. We find most of the time a lot of the efficiencies have been lost because it's a matter of we got a new person in this seat. It's a hot seat. They've got to get trained up on GP as quickly as possible because they've got to be able to do their job. They're also having to learn our business processes, our company. So there's a lot involved with that. So the business process review is a really, really good exercise to go through um, because it will help us evaluate what your current processes are and map those to a new system. Um, and maybe you say, well, we're not going to move right now. We want to stay on GP. Well, it may be a great time for you to go ahead and evaluate GP too, because there may be functionality within the system or processes that you're doing within the system that are not the most efficient way to do those. And if you're going to stay on GP till the end of 2029, then let's get the best bang for your buck right now and use what's in the system that can help you, with job efficiencies. So it's not just a great exercise to go through for looking and evaluate a new system and obtaining a roadmap for that or that new system, if you will. But it's also a great exercise to go through for current GP customers that are going to stay on the system.
Okay. So here are our results. 50% are interested in upgrading. We've got 8% that are looking at a BPR. We've got another 58% who are interested in Business Central, and 42% are interested in learning more about Sage Intacct. So it sounds like a lot of exploration is going on right now.
That's great. That is great to hear.
Yeah.
That's awesome news. I like that. And I like Margaret had told you at the beginning, I was a GP consultant for nearly 20 years. I had 5 years prior GP DOS as an end user. And so, I too have been very attached to the product. Hate to see it sunset, but all good things come to an end. But I do believe that everybody will find that going to a cloud solution, especially Sage Intacct or Business Central, I think you're going to really, really find. I see a lot of people get really excited when we do discovery and
Yeah.
demos. I mean, they're like, I don't think they even have any idea what to expect when they start the demo, and then at the end of the demo, they're like, "Man, I really like what I see." And I hear that from both product lines. So it's not really just one over the other. I think it really just comes down to when you get to the selection process of, which one's going to meet your requirements the best. Which one do you feel like your user adaptability is going to, have the best experience with? So um, I think, just evaluating those systems and having conversations with either myself or Kyle Vickery, who's the other strategic account manager. Margaret Bolding also is our Dynamics GP practice manager. So if you're not sure who your strategic account manager is, you can always reach out to Margaret and she'll point you in the right direction. I also would like to mention, Dawn, that for anybody that's planning on staying on Dynamics GP, if you encounter that you need a new server and you are just like, well, our IT department really doesn't want to have to continue to maintain a new server. We also offer hosting in Azure and AWS here at LBMC. So if that's something that you're interested in, Kyle and I can also have the discussion with you about that and, offer a statement of work to show you what it would cost to host your GP rather than purchasing a new server. So that's an option for you as well.
All right. And we had another question come in.
Okay.
What are you seeing is the implementation cost for Business Central?
So it could just be all over the board. There's really not any magic number or magic price, if you will. It really is going to, you would really need to go through discovery and requirements process in order for us to be able to hone in on that. There's a lot of things to consider when you're going through your cloud journey and evaluating a system. It may be a great time for you to not just evaluate Dynamics GP, but also to evaluate what other systems that have an impact on your back office, which is your GP product. Are there, outside sales modules that you're doing, some invoicing in because it's industry specific? I can't even talk specific. That's a mouthful. So are there disparate systems that, you're having to grab a journal entry and enter it into GP manually, or maybe you've got integrations that are coming into GP to bring data in. So there's a lot that you should consider because some of those systems we may be able to even sunset them on your environment as well, because they may not be needed because Business Central or Sage Intacct may already have functionality that would replace those systems, and you wouldn't have to no longer worry about the upkeep of those. Consider your budget, consider the timeline. Those are two very important things. We're also wanting to make sure that people are not just waiting till the last minute so that we have, 100 GP customers coming at us in 2029 saying, oh, we need to get you a new system. We want to do evaluation, because we're also trying to resource plan on our side as well for those two lines of businesses. To make sure that we have enough consultants available to be able to accommodate our customers as they get ready to transition. So just some things for you to consider, especially when you're talking to myself or Kyle or Margaret. We're going to ask you what's your timeline, because we're also trying to plan from our side to make sure that we have adequate consulting staff to be able to do implementations as they come across to us. So yeah, just a couple of things to think about: system complexities, your timeline, your budget, the potential opportunity to replace systems that you currently have, any integrations that you may have. You know, I've got a GP customer right now that they do manufacturing and they're going to Business Central, and they did this huge undertaking themselves of going through their entire system and documenting every system they had in place and where its touch points were to GP, and if it was potential replacement, or if was it something that was so specific that they had to keep that particular system in place. So lots of things to think about. I think that sometimes people don't even really consider as they go through this process. So
Okay. So upcoming webinars. If you look in the chat, I've put the registration links for each of these 3 upcoming webinars. This is happening soon. This is happening a week from today. We're doing a special edition of GP Office Hours on tariffs and landed costs, and the fact what GP can do for you in a volatile and changing market. And you won't want to miss this if you are concerned about what the impact tariffs are going to have on your business. So look for the registration link in the chat. It'll also be in the slides when I send these out. We host GP office hours because, as Lisa pointed out in her slides, we will support through 12/31 of 2034. And we want you to have a rich experience. We want you to plan for the future, but we also want you to have a very rich experience with the system that you have now. And so, for example, I know that tariffs has popped up quickly, but our consultants have already been on the job working with existing clients to address this. And so they were very excited about bringing those learnings to a very special edition next week. Coming up in May, the ever popular archiving data in your Dynamics GP system. This is one that our president and CEO, Brian Wilton, hosts each year. It's easily one of the most popular sessions that we have, and that's going to be happening on May 20th. And as I mentioned, the link is in the chat. And then Lisa mentioned the Microsoft Power collection. And one of the things that we'll be talking about in June is how to unlock the power of Microsoft Power Pages with your existing GP system. So if you're looking at using GP tools, someone mentioned that, and I'm guessing that there's more than one business on the call today that fits the bill, that you are, from an IT standpoint, a Microsoft shop. You'll want to know about how Power Pages can help with Dynamics GP. So we look forward to seeing you at those future GP office hours. And coming up this October in Orlando is Dynamics Community Summit, and we're going to be there as we are every year. First thing, we have a discount code that you can use for registering. It will give you 10% off your registration fee if you use that LBMC Tech NO 10. It can't be used in conjunction with other discounts. Lisa and I discovered last week one of our clients was taking advantage of a group discount, and our discount code didn't work. And we did a little bit of deep dive into that and discovered that the reason it didn't work was because the group discount had been taken first. So just be aware of that. Also, as you're filling out your registration, if you would please indicate that we are your partner. One of the things, since we're not handling the registration, obviously, Dynamics Community Summit is, we don't have a master registration list. So if you identify us as your partner, we can get a list of all of our clients who have registered from Community Summit. And that's very helpful for us in reaching out, making sure that you are RSVP'd for our customer dinner, which you can see is happening on Sunday the 19th. And the whole event is going to be at the Orlando Gaylord. And we are delighted to say that there are only like 3 restaurants in the Gaylord. So we're delighted that we were able, amongst all the exhibitors that are going to be there, that we were able to get private accommodations at the Moore, which is a fun place to have dinner. And it will be a great opportunity for to sit down and have a great meal. You don't have to worry about transportation to and from. And it's a wonderful chance to network. As we do every year, there's going to be a goodie bag that you walk away with. And not only do we contribute to that, but the sponsors of our dinner also contribute to that. So we look forward to seeing you there. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing because I've discovered that one thing I can't see the Q&A when I'm driving. So an anonymous attendee has asked, what is the typical time frame it takes to transition over from Microsoft GP to Microsoft Business Central? Say one company with a few integrations.
Oh, that's a great question. So we typically say 16 weeks minimum for any implementation to begin with. Some obviously, due to the complexity of your system, can take longer, but for something as ask in the Q&A there, it's usually about 16-week transition. To make sure that we have enough time built in, should we have to do any retraining with your end users, or anybody, maybe unforeseen circumstances that may pop up. We just like to be able to make sure we have an adequate time. So 16 weeks is about what the minimum we're going to start with.
So I don't see any other questions. So let me thank everybody who attended today. We're so happy that you are here, and it is our hope that you find value in these sessions. I want to thank Lisa and Margaret for taking time out of their day to share their expertise and to be so supportive of these GP office hours for our client base. We're just delighted to bring this to you. If you think of any topics that you would like to see in the future, please let your strategic account manager, or if you're working with a consultant, let them know. You can always let me know. And like I said before, we really want to make sure that you have a rich Dynamics GP experience with us, and that we share as much valuable resources and content as we possibly can. So everyone, thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we'll see
Yes.
some of you next week.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Margaret.
All right. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.